Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. I hope you're having a great start to your month of July, because guess what? It is the 1st of July now, baby. I always put forth an invitation for anyone who wants to ask a question about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom to do that. You can do it in two ways. You can either email me directly at searchforsigns@mail.com, but most people actually just post that question as a comment, and I try to answer it as best I can in the next video. I do want to make a quick announcement about the Facebook page that was put up a couple weeks ago, where I've been putting up various videos from different sources about these miracle signs. Anything from, let's see, patterns of light on the buildings to Maitreya visiting Mary Akatsa's church in Nairobi, Kenya 32 years ago last month. So you can get a bunch of different, you can look at a bunch of different videos from people who don't know anything about this or don't believe anything about this information, and you can kind of come up with that information on your own, okay? Now, at the risk of sounding like I'm trying to sell you on something, I do recommend, if you do go to that Facebook page, to definitely check out the post that I put at top. I pinned it at the top of the page. And it's a link to the Share International YouTube page where Benjamin Creme's talking about the hand of Maitreya, where he talks about how it came about, what it means, and how you can use an image of the hand of Maitreya that appeared on a mirror in Barcelona, Spain, to invoke the help of Maitreya. And according to Benjamin Creme, it is the closest that Maitreya can get to any one of us until he's out, known, open for who he is, which will happen after the day of declaration. Now, he is on TV. He is speaking in incognito at the time. And I know people are desperately trying to find it, or desperately trying to get me to tell you how to find it. But in the meantime, it's important for us to understand his priorities, which above all is peace. But how do we create peace? As Maitreya would say, without sharing, there could be no justice. Without justice, there could be no peace. Without peace, there could be no future. So, put it quite simply. All right, now, in this video, I have the background image as, it's a quote from Willy Brandt. Now, I was Googling Willy Brandt quotes, and I was trying to find some that were quite inspirational. And one of the ones that I saw was, it says, "It often takes more courage to change one's opinion than to keep it." And I was like, wow, that's a great quote. I think I'll use that as a background, right? And then I came across this quote. It says, "If I'm selling to you, I speak your language. If I'm buying, I don't speak German. Dann müssen Sie Deutsch sprechen." I can only assume that means if I'm buying, then I'm going to speak my language, German. So anyway, I just think that's absolutely hysterical if he said that. Now, maybe you see the humor in that, maybe you don't. Maybe that's my dad humor coming out. But anywho, I don't know if you know who Willy Brandt was. He was the former Chancellor of Germany. Now, as world leaders go, he was very, very, very advanced. On par with somebody like FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, the former president of the United States, or almost Winston Churchill. So very, very advanced man. Now, most of these political world leaders that are very, very advanced, they don't really know much or any about the hierarchy masters, but they go about, responding to their own soul's impulse in a very much more effective way than the average world leader would do. But they're under the inspiration of one or other of these masters working out one or other of these masters' plans for humanity. But they don't, like I said, they don't really know much. If you were to ask them, they don't know anything about it. Now, Willy Brandt was the exception. Apparently, he actually knew. But if you would have asked him anything about Maitreya, the Masters of Wisdom, he would probably not tell you. So, occult silence is paramount to disciples of that level, or of any level. But those disciples, they just work within their field, and that's it. So, now he knew who Maitreya was apparently, and he knew the stature of Maitreya. And Maitreya actually, not long after Maitreya entered London in 1977, he actually visited Maitreya. He actually visited Willy Brandt, and actually suggested to him that he come up with an economic blueprint for the principle of sharing taking place. Remember, these masters aren't going to do it for us. We have to do it. Every step of the way has to be endorsed by man, as according to Benjamin Creme's master. So this is one of the ways, a very clear way of how these masters will work with our world leaders to help bring about the change. So Maitreya actually came and visited him, spoke to him for however long the time that he did, but suggested that he come up with this plan. Willy Brandt agreed. Now, Maitreya also suggested that he do not come up with this plan on his own, and it ended up being called the Brandt Report. Now, he suggested that he come up with a commission of people. You would think that Maitreya would suggest to him, come, ask this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, who are thinking along those lines of sharing, right? That's not what was asked of Willy Brandt. What he was asked of him was try, asking this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, but they all had extreme viewpoints. So there was an extreme capitalist, an extreme socialist, extreme right-winger, extreme left-winger, and so forth and so forth and so forth. People of extreme viewpoints. Now, you would think in today's political and economic environment that they would be so entrenched that nothing would get done. Or they would, Willy Brandt would have to resort to putting something to a vote, and somebody would be left out. Well, it was quite an extraordinary miracle, and I actually think it's probably as big of a miracle as any of the other, as UFOs showing up in our skies, right? He actually created a true consensus amongst these political and economic leaders of that time, a true consensus, where they all took the best of their own viewpoints and brought it together and synthesized it and created this Brandt Commission. It was presented to the United Nations and eventually will be part of the infrastructure to create the principle of sharing. Now, most people, when they hear me talk about this or they listen to a Benjamin Creme video talk about the principle of sharing, you think it is some kind of utopian, far-off ideal that will eventually, maybe, possibly work. It will eventually be anchored in the political framework of all the countries and the economic makeup of all our structures of all our countries, where it will actually be, but it will take the structures of today changing. And that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing the crumbling of the old ways of doing business and doing politics. And it's, I think, as scary to most people as, their country being attacked by a foreign power, and really, it's causing that much stress amongst people, I think. And for most of us, even the most intellectual, even the most educated among us are unsure about what's going on in the world. There's not a lot of leadership, if any. The structures are crumbling. What they're doing is working for a time or not working at all. They don't have the answers. People are looking for something to hold on to support their life, and there isn't anything there. Just like being in Europe one year and the next year your whole town is leveled. There's nothing left. You know what I mean? It's got to be that scary, for most of us. Now, I don't know you. You don't know me. But I do know what you're going through because I'm going through it myself. I'm seeing the structures fall. I'm seeing our so-called world leaders flounder and so forth. But it's important to, and if I can make any suggestion to you, you might not believe in this information at all. You might not believe in Maitreya or think he's who I think he is. You might believe it a little bit or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But if I can make a suggestion to you, just remain centered. All will be well. I know it can be scary. I know it can be frightening, but it's going to be okay. And more and more and more when I just do my general searches through YouTube, just looking for entertaining videos to kind of keep my mind occupied, from people who are well known to the alternative side of YouTube and so forth, there's this undertone of fear. about what's going on. And then within that fear comes the opinion. And with the opinion comes the asserting one's opinion and trying to make it truth and so forth. And we can get caught up in that, and they can fuel our own fears, because I think over the next few months, all of us will be entertaining our worst fears about what life will look like next year, But this has been going on for a while, and I think this is the climax of what we're seeing, the total destruction of the selfish competitive ways of the past. Now, if you are at the risk of sounding like I'm selling something again, or trying to convince somebody, if you are lucky enough to have heard about this information, if at the very least it gives you a sense of hope for the future in the face of all this, then I will have done my job better than I could have possibly imagined. But it's important to remember that fear and joy are equally infectious. And so when we listen to those people who are in their own way spreading fear, it can make us fearful. Same thing for us. If we, spread that fear, then we are spreading fear just like they are. But as Benjamin Creme's master said, fear and joy are equally infectious. So you can also choose to spread joy or hope on whatever level you think that there could be. Even if you have to scrape the bottom of the barrel and within your own heart and mind to do it, you will be helping out the world more than you could possibly imagine by doing that. The choice is yours. It's in your hands. You can do one or the other. You can either spread fear or hope and joy. I choose to spread hope and joy. Do I think it's going to get bad before it gets better? It might. But not much happens, especially in countries that are spoiled like the United States, until you get knocked on the head a bit. And I think we're getting knocked on the head, But I do want to segue into reading one of Benjamin Creme's master's articles, and it's called The Needs of Men. Now, when you read this, or when I read it to you, unfortunately, but if you have a Master Speaks, it's on page 151. He's talking about for lack of a better phrase, the segueing from the old ways of the past and how our leaders are trying to maintain that to the new way. And I hope you listen to it to the end. It's always better to read this on your own. It's always better to absorb the master's ideas and his words for yourself and not have somebody read it to you like I'm trying to put you to bed at night. But it's just, I know most people don't have these books for now, but hopefully it will inspire some of us to go out and buy some of these books and read it ourselves, because they are absolutely some of the most simple, wondrous, and wise words that I've ever read. But this master, Benjamin Creme's master, talks about a lot what I was just trying to talk about in my own way, in my own little way. So hopefully you listen to the end. So anyway, here we go. When men take stock of their present situation, they can come to but one conclusion: the methods of even the recent past no longer work. On all sides, but particularly in the financial and economic sector, there is continuous and growing chaos. Experts are summoned to aid the floundering governments regain some control, but to no avail. The old, tried methods refuse to obey the wills of their chancellors, however experienced they might be. What are they, the governments of the world, to do? What can they do? They can continue for a time manipulating the old structures, hoping that things will settle down and the old patterns survive. This is indeed a forlorn hope. Generally speaking, the governments of most countries see their role as protectors and upholders of the quote-unquote status quo. That false idea that life is static and therefore all change is rebellion and undesirable. This attitude is true for most governments, whether of the right or the left, capitalistic or socialistic. In either case, they fail to recognize the yearnings of their peoples for change, for a new concept of living, one that ensures their ability to raise their families in peace, security, and well-being. The failure of governments is precisely their failure to see that their true role is to look after the well-being of their people, lost as they are in competition and the following of quote-unquote market forces. They have lost touch, for the most part, with the needs of those whom they claim to represent. The glamours of power and authority overcome, as often as not, their desire to serve. Divorced from the real needs of the people, they fall back on ideology and theory. Even so, they are not entirely to be blamed. They know nothing of the forces with which they try to contend. Ignorant as they are, they fall easy prey to the destructive forces of the past. The people, meanwhile, suffer and wait and pray, unaware, for the most part, that the help for which they pray is even now among them, ready and eager to aid their suffering and to ease their lot. The people know the true nature of their need, but require a strong and fearless representative to give it voice. Already present, that representative, Maitreya, is working quietly to influence the direction which events will take. Soon that voice will strike a stronger note, and many will be ready to respond. Thus the plan works out its beneficent purpose to secure the future of all men. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.